Hello, Cubs fans. We are back at Into the Ivy. It happened. It happened. The Cubs went out and got Dansby Swanson. He's a Cub. The Cubs went out. They got one of the top four shortstops. They got their guy. They got him on a big 7-year deal. And it's positive vibes only here on the show tonight. It's positive vibes only. We're back. Are the Cubs back? We're going to find out. It's a great day. It's an absolutely great day. Today's date is Monday, December 19th. I know we're a couple days late on the Dansby Swanson news, but I wanted to put together a little bit more of an episode before we actually talked about Swanson, what this means for the Cubs. Are the Cubs done spending? What next signings could look like, and why I don't know. I'm starting to buy into this team possibly competing for a wild card spot this year. I know that the NL East is tough. I know that the NL West is tough. The Dodgers, while they didn't do much, they're still a good team. The Padres got better. The Mets got better. The Phillies got better. The Braves have just been sitting around, but they're also still a very good team. The Cubs have a lot of work to do still to cement themselves as the NL Central favorites. I still think that despite my wishes, the Cardinals are still up there until someone takes it away from them. And I do think that it would be nice if the Cubs could muster up some of that 2015 magic and pull it off. Do I think it's going to happen? No. Do I think this team can be competitive? Absolutely. So obviously the big signing, Dansby Swanson coming to the Cubs. He's got that 7-year deal for $177 million, no trade clause. This is perfect if you're Jed Hoyer. This is exactly what Jed wanted. You know, you look at what Bogarts, Turner, and Correa got. They all got 11 plus years, and Jed Hoyer went out and got Dansby Swanson for 7. That says a lot considering that the reports were that he wanted 8 years and he would take 7 on a lucrative deal. So this tells me that they pitched Dansby some kind, whatever it was in this pitch must have been good enough for him to take the year less to come to Chicago. Granted, his wife does play for the Red Stars and plays soccer in Chicago, but you know, it's hard to believe that other teams weren't offering him 8+ years. Maybe they were. We haven't seen what other teams were offering, but it leaves a lot to think about. Obviously, this is great for the Cubs. This is great for David Ross, what you can do with the defense now. You know, you can move Nico Horner, who was, as I was talking to Brandon the other day on the episode, Nico Horner is probably a top 15 shortstop. I truly believe that he moves to top 5 second baseman. And maybe that's something in the next few years as Dansby gets older. Maybe they make the swap back. I don't know. I'm not the manager, but it does feel like Nico can move back to shortstop at some point and Dansby take over at second base. They can flip flop, do whatever they want. But it's very exciting because you've got Cody Bellinger in center field. You've got Dansby Swanson, probably the best defensive shortstop of the 4. Not the best offensive, but quite possibly the best defensive. And you move Nico Horner over to second base. No more Nick Madrigal, except for days off, as long as he stays on the roster. And then you got Yan Gomes at catcher. That's great. That's a great middle of the field defense. I am very excited to watch this summer. I'm half tempted to make the flight up from Orlando to Chicago now to go see a Cubs game. It was a big fat no from me up until this signing. Of course, I still would like to see the team do more to feel good about spending that kind of it would mean a lot if the Cubs would be serious and take this next few moves seriously as a fan who lives out of the Chicago market to invest that time, invest that money from my end to go to Chicago and watch this team in person. I'll absolutely do it if I feel as though that the product in the field is going to be worth it, and it's getting there. It really is getting there. Just keep the faith a little bit. I take back all the mean things that I said about Jed Hoyer so far. I've gotten over the teardown of the 2021 trade deadline. I've gotten over it because I'm starting to love what this team looks like. Obviously, this puts them up with one of the best middle of the field defenses in baseball. You know, you take a look at some of these other second base shortstop duos. Now the Giants, Brandon Crawford, Carlos Correa. Phillies with Bryson Stott, Trey Turner. Blue Jays, Whit Merrifield. Maybe that one might have been a little bit better a few years ago, but with Bo Bichette. Guardians with Andres Jimenez and Ahmed Rosario. Like some of these guys, even the Braves with Ozzie Albies and Vaughn Grissom still. Like that's pretty good. And I would put the Cubs up there with some of these teams. Maybe you got an opinion on some of those other teams that I rattle up. That's fine. One thing that we should all be able to agree upon as Cubs fans is that this middle of the field defense is going to be very, very good. And it is going to blow away the 2022 product that we just saw with Nico and the revolving door that was second base because Madrigal couldn't stay healthy. So this does bring me to the next point. It's time. I am okay. I know the news about Conforto. We'll get to that a little bit later. Not that there's any news, but the rumblings, we should say. Maybe that's a better word for being this early in the episode. You have to begin looking into extending Nico and extending Ian. You know, these are two guys that can be part of this next great Cubs team. I know I said if I heard it anymore, I was going to scream, but if Jed Hoyer is serious about these guys, it's time to start looking into these kind of extensions because you look at the market that is out there for shortstops, which Nico Hoyer will, if he hits free agency in a few years, he will qualify as a shortstop. He will write himself out as a shortstop and he'll get paid like these shortstops just did. Ian Happ in left field, you know, he just won a Gold Glove. It would have been nice if we could have got this done. Obviously, the 2021 season was kind of a clunker for him. 2022, a little bit better because, I mean, not even a little bit, a lot better because I remember, and I'll hand up, left hand up, I'll own it. I am pretty sure that I was advocating for Ian Happ to get DFA'd going into last season because of just how bad 2021 is. That's a my bad. That's an extreme my bad. Cold take by me. My bad, Ian. You're great. You made me eat my words. You proved me wrong. Thank you. I appreciate being wrong. Thank you. But with these guys, you need to start looking into extending them because of, like I said, the market, what the market is doing, how the market has evolved, and what it's probably going to carry over from this winter into next year and the coming years until something happens that proves otherwise. So I don't think that it's crazy for Jed to approach Nico and Ian with contract extension offers that I would say with Nico Hoerner, I think this is where you hand out the 10-year shortstop deal. Granted, this would lock him in as your second base shortstop of the future with Dansby Swanson. I know Jed Hoyer doesn't like these kind of deals, but I think Nico Hoerner might be worth it based on what we've seen, the potential that we've seen. Maybe you don't do this kind of deal this year, and that's fine. That's fine if you want to see what happens one more season. But I do think that if you were to do it this season, it's got to be close to 10 years because of what Turner, Bogarts, and Correa did. I think that he'll get more of a extension than Dansby, but less than those guys. So that's why I'm putting him at 10 years. And I think that, you know, he might want to test himself a little bit and try to push. If he gets better, he's definitely going to push up into the 20s. He will push into the 20 millions per year. But I think right now, if you approached him with a 10-year deal for 180 million, so $18 million a year, I don't think that's too far-fetched. Right now in this offseason, it's a lot of hype. He was very good in 2022, but can he be great? That's what is left to be seen. And that's why I think you can go to Nico with this 10-year, $180 million deal and get him for less than what you're going to have to give him next year. Because next year, let's say we go down to 9 years, that number could be well above 200 based on what happens this summer, this fall, this spring. A lot can happen in baseball. A lot can happen. So I don't think that deal is far-fetched. I think it's a fair deal. Maybe I'm wrong. What do I know? I'm a couch GM. It's what I do. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you, say I'm some expert. I'm a couch GM, you guys. Ian Happ, however, he's 28 years. Oh, Nico Horner is only 25. Ian Happ, however, is 28, so he's 3 years older. I think you could go to Ian Happ with somewhere around 5 years, and then anywhere between 85 and 100 million. So that would be between 17 million and 20 million a year. Granted, maybe that's underpaying him, but I don't think that it would be a bad starting point if you're Jed Hoyer. Be like, this is what we're thinking, and start the negotiations from there. Obviously, the Gold Glove helps. The bounce back season helps. All of those things benefit Ian Happ. But it's going to be interesting to see how the Cubs view Ian Happ as a player, because I know this isn't that guy that was part of the 2016 team, but he did come up the next season in 2017. So Ian Happ has always been this big prospect in the Cubs system. I remember talking about him in 2016 and looking forward to when he would come up. And the first few years were kind of just Now his value has gone up. But you do have to, if you're the Cubs, you have to keep some of your proven homegrown guys that are proven on roster, because moving past this season, who's going to be under contract besides Marcus Stroman if he doesn't opt out, Seiya Suzuki for 3 more seasons, not including that this upcoming season is over. You'll have Suzuki for 3 more years, and you'll have Dansby Swanson for 6. That's not talking about guys with arbitration. That's guys with guaranteed money on the books at this time. So it would be nice to see some extensions get done. As far as what the Cubs are going to do moving forward, maybe they add another bat like Conforto. Maybe they go for a guy like Matt Carpenter. Obviously, Justin Turner, a guy that we thought they were in on signing with the Red Sox for 2 years, $22 million. It's hard to. I don't think that the Cubs couldn't have matched that. I don't think that the Cubs could have done better than that, because I do. But maybe there's something going on as to why he chose the Red Sox. To me, that would be a red flag for what they plan to do with Rafael Devers. Granted, the market for Rafael Devers in 2024 is going to be stupid. It's going to be stupid expensive. Devers and Ohtani are going to be the probably top 2 guys on the market. And it's going to be he's going to be one of those guys that all 30 teams should be in on. So maybe the Cubs add another batter too. Maybe. It would be nice to see them add another left-handed pitcher. Not necessarily. May it be in the rotation, preferably the bullpen, because I'm looking at the active roster, the 40-man, and the depth chart shows that the only left-handed pitcher that we have is Brandon Hughes. And that's not bad. Brandon Hughes is a good pitcher, but that's our only left-handed guy. That concerns me just a little bit. It would be nice to see them bring a guy like Andrew Chafin back, who is a free agent. We traded him to the Tigers at the trade deadline last year. It'd be nice to get him back. I think he enjoyed his time in Chicago. It'd be amazing to have him. And he would provide some kind of cushion there at the back of the rotation to mix with Boxberger and whoever this team's closer is going to be. That's probably another talking point for another episode, is who's going to be the closer for this team. But, one thing we like to do with the offseason, because there's nothing baseball else to talk about, let's look way too early at 2024. I've got a few names here that stick out on this free agency class, and it's going to be nice because the Hayward contract finally comes off the books. That's $22 million a year now that aren't tied up to one guy. Obviously, Shohei Ohtani. LOL. Everyone's going to be on him. All 30 teams should be in on him. Maybe realistically, like 24 are financially in on him. Obviously, you're going to have teams that just aren't going to be, like the Athletics, the Rays, probably the Tigers. Pick the Pirates, the Reds. They probably all won't be in on him, but every other team should be in on him that's trying to compete, because Shohei Ohtani makes your team better. Rafael Devers is that second one. He's going to be the youngest third base option on the market. He's only going to be 28 when he hits free agency. and he is going to demand a Carlos Correa, Fernando Tatis Jr. deal. And I don't think that Jed Hoyer is going to be willing to go for that. Based on what we've seen this year, unless the market takes a drastic turn, Rafael Devers is probably going to get a 13, 14, or even 15-year deal with probably the San Diego Padres. Probably. Let's be real. He's probably going to go to San Diego and join Bogarts out there. And the reason that that slot opens up for Rafael Devers in San Diego is because Manny Machado, my third name on the list, and now we're getting into the maybe not in order, but he is a third name I have on my list because he's come out and said that he does plan on opting out of his deal, which he'll have the player option. So at this point, why not? You see what some of these guys just made, cash in on yourself because someone will pay you what you're making more than what you're making right now. And, maybe if you're Jed Hoyer, Manny Machado he's going to be a more affordable option and maybe a little bit better of an investment than Rafael Devers year wise. I think Rafael Devers is a better signing than Manny Machado just based on age, but Manny Machado will be more affordable for the Chicago Cubs. So maybe that's someone that they go after. You do have these holes at third base still, and you have at this current moment in time, you've got a question mark at first base. Will Matt Mervis come up and be the guy that we saw in all these highlights at the end of the season in the Arizona Fall League and the minors? Is he going to be that kind of guy when he gets to Wrigley Field? I don't know. Prospects can change based on every level of baseball. He could get up and flop. I hope it doesn't happen. I would love to have Matt Mervis be the next Anthony Rizzo. Don't get me wrong, but that is a lot of pressure. And I think that maybe even unintentionally, we're going to do it. We are going to expect this kid to be some kind of Anthony Rizzo. And I just hope that he's a good player. I just hope that he's a good ball player. Another name that I have on the list that has a player option that is going to be a pipe dream and someone that, we talked about even here a little bit before Dansby Swanson signed with the Cubs, making a trade for Javi Baez. He can play shortstop, he can play second, he can be a utility guy in the infield. I think we've got our infield. Unless you wanted to trade from him and put him at third base, but the kind of player that Javi Baez is right now, I don't want to pay him $23 million a year for how he's batting. It's not good. I don't want to say it would be Jason Hayward in the infield, but because I love Javi and I love the kind of player he is, but he struggles at the plate. He does. This is something that we knew. This is something that we knew when we traded him to the Mets and fleeced for PCA. He's not going to opt out, as it's going to be the storyline the entire moment until he decides to stay in his contract. As much fun as it would be to bring Javi back to Wrigley, it's not going to happen because, like I said, no one is going to pay Javi Baez more than the $23 million he's making right now from the Detroit Tigers. Nobody's going to do it. Another name on the list is Liam Hendriks, who the White Sox are currently trying to trade. Depending on where the Cubs stand a year from now, I don't hate it. Like I said, we don't have a clear-cut answer at closer like we did with Aroldis Chapman, like we did when we brought in Craig Kimbrell. And you can debate the Craig Kimbrell thing as much as you want because of how he performed, but there was not a shred of doubt. When we signed Craig Kimbrell, we're all like, this is our closer. He's going to come and be the closer. I don't really see a guy on the roster or in the farm that does that. Cody Hoyer might be that guy, but with the injury last year and the Tommy John surgery, he's got a lot of question marks at this current moment, December 19th, 2022. I don't know. Depending on where the Cubs are a year from now, if they're ready to compete in 2024, Liam Hendriks is worth a look. Another name I have on the list is Kyle Hendricks because he has a club option. And I'm just telling you right now, Cubs fans, this is going to suck a lot. This hurts me to say, but unless Kyle Hendricks bounces back from the injuries that riddled him down the stretch this year, if he comes out and has a bad 2023, the Cubs aren't going to pick that option. They're not going to exercise it. They're going to let him go. And the reason that this is going to hurt so bad, and the reason that I think more and more the Cubs, unless Hendricks has an amazing season, they're going to let him walk because it is the last player from that 2016 team. we really didn't see with all those guys, we did not see any kind of serious offer to bring them back in free agency or when they could hit the market. Contreras, John Lester got lowballed, Anthony Rizzo got lowballed. Chris Bryant, we never even talked to again after, I think, 2017. Javi Baez, if not for COVID, you can say it all you want. We might have got a deal with him if COVID didn't happen when it did, but it didn't happen. Maybe it's somewhere in a multiple different reality. I don't know, but it does feel like this will be the completion of the tearing down of the 2016 team. I can literally already see all those like W flags that you see on Twitter, on Cubs Twitter, where they've marked out everybody who is off the team. It feels like that's coming, that we're going to be able to, that we're going to cross off that last name. And then it's just going to be David Ross, but he's obviously the manager. And it's sad to talk about because I love Kyle Hendricks. He's very fun. The professor, like, anytime that you watch a guy that helped you win a World Series, especially this World Series, it's just sad, It's just really sad. And then finally, one of the last guys that I wanted to talk about that I listed specifically, Matt Chapman, third base, will be a free agent from the Toronto Blue Jays, obviously traded from the Oakland A's. And I do think that this is the next Dansby Swanson signing for Jed Hoyer next year and another classic Jed target. I don't think that I would love to sit here and tell you that the Cubs are going to seriously be in on Rafael Devers and seriously be in on Manny Machado. And you're going to see these tweets and these rumors all next winter that the Cubs are down the road with Rafael Devers. The Cubs are in serious talks with Manny Machado. It's not going to happen because they're going to go for a guy like Matt Chapman that they're going to be signed for way less money and probably a significant difference in years on the contract. And it's going to be an answer for third base. Matt Chapman just feels like someone that could be playing for the Chicago Cubs in 2024 because he was mentioned as a trade target. And he could easily come in and replace Patrick Wisdom. This isn't a knock on him, but I don't feel as though from what we have seen from Patrick Wisdom that he is going to be a starter on a championship window team, maybe a platoon player like with Matt Mervis if they want to split some time at first base. But it doesn't feel like it. Patrick Wisdom came onto the stage great after the trade deadline last of 2021, but hasn't really had spectacular seasons. He's a fun guy to watch, don't get me wrong, but he just seems like a bridge guy for a team that's bridging between championship windows. I don't know. And then, of course, we circle back to Kyle Hendricks. I think that the Cubs declined the option on him and are in on a big name starting pitcher. And there are a few that I've seen that I would like to join the Cubs in 2024 if Hendricks were to go fill his spot. Obviously, at the top of that list is Shohei Ohtani. Has to be. If you don't have Shohei Ohtani at the top of your list going into 2024, unless there's some kind of injury, I don't know what you're doing. Julio Urias from the Dodgers wouldn't be bad. He's young. He's good. You could get him for quite a few more years than you could some of the other guys on this list. And I think it'd be a solid investment. Aaron Nola is a great name to watch. I don't know if the Phillies win the World Series in 2023, there's no way he walks. This is going to be something that comes down to money. And will Jed Hoyer want to get into a bidding war with the Philadelphia Phillies? Because right there you have your spending stupid money and your intelligent spending. And who's going to win out? Who's going to pay Aaron Nola the payday that he's going to want? Two other names I like are Jack Flaherty. Obviously, some injury problems last year, but still, I believe he could be a really good pitcher if he can get over that hump. And then Lucas Giolito. Giolito come in take him away from the White Sox, get him in on the north side. But then again, this is what we said about Carlos Rodon. We said we wanted to steal Carlos Rodon from the White Sox. And then Giolito, I don't know. Do we get him? It would be great, but I don't think we do. And that's just a little bit of my first thoughts on 2024. Obviously, there's a lot to happen between now and then. We have a whole calendar year to get through. We have a whole season to get to. 2023 is going to be exciting. So with that, I would like to talk about what I think that the Cubs projected lineup based on what they have on the active roster right now, what I think David Ross's opening day lineup should be. I'm going to go ahead and put it at the bottom of the screen just so you've got it. Nico Horner, I think, would be great leading off with Dansby Swanson right behind him. Obviously, your second base, shortstop, 1-2 punch right there. A lot of people are putting Seiya Suzuki down further in the lineup. I've seen him at like the 6 or 7 hole. And to me, I don't know if David Ross does that because he batted him second a lot last season, especially after the first couple months. That's usually where Suzuki was batting, was second and third. So I feel comfortable putting him in that 3 hole right there. And then obviously Ian Happ hitting cleanup. I just think he's going to have a good season at the plate. I think he's going to, because he's going into that contract year. He's going to have something to prove, especially if the Cubs don't give him a contract extension. As far as 5, this is where I feel like Cody Bellinger could start the season. I don't know based on how he performs. If he raises up, if he lowers, I'm sure we'll see a lot of in between. But I do think that the 5 spot would be good for him. And then Patrick Wisdom, I have batting 6th as the DH. This is for opening day. This is what my opening day projected lineup is right now. Patrick Wisdom at DH, just because you look at some of the other guys and it's like, what? I don't want to put Nick Madrigal at designated hitter. I'd rather have Patrick Wisdom. Patrick Wisdom has a better chance of going yard than Madrigal does. So that's just where I feel comfortable putting him, and splitting him and Matt Mervis time at first base, him and the next guy, Christopher Morel, who I have at third. I think those 3 guys are going to rotate when going between playing field position and DH. Maybe not Morel as much, just because he gives you versatility on the base paths, in the field. He can play anywhere. He's like a super utility guy. Batting 8th, I've got Matt Mervis, the soon-to-be rookie. This is just where I've got him. I think it's going to be great to have him at first base. I think he's young. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what he can do. And then obviously at 9, I've got Yan Gomes at catcher, just because we don't have another catcher right now outside of PJ Higgins. And I don't think PJ Higgins is going to be the opening day catcher. And then starting opening day, I've got Marcus Stroman as the opening day pitcher. Kind of circling back, one last thing that I want to discuss is 2 guys I really, 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 really want the Cubs to sign, and that would be Trey Mancini and Michael Conforto. Trey Mancini last season hit 239. He's a 265 career batting average. He hit 18 home runs last year, 319 OBP, and 710 OPS. Respectable. He won a World Series with the Astros, and we need help at first base if this is what we're going with Wisdom DH, Mervis first, and Morel at third. We could use a Trey Mancini on team. Or if you wanted to not use Patrick Wisdom or Nick Madrigal at DH, go get yourself Michael Conforto. Sat out all last season as he was hurt. 2021, he hit 232, 14 home runs, 412 OBP, and 927 OPS. He's a career 255 hitter. And I think that some of these guys you could get on more affordable team deals than some of the other guys have signed, like Jose Abreu and Anthony Rizzo for Mancini. Mancini being 30 years old, I think you give him a 2-year deal, $36 million. That gives him $18 million a year. I think that's respectable. That's what Sport Track has as his market value. So I think offering him the 2 years at 36 mil, that means he comes off the contract at 32 years old. If he wants to leave Chicago and go somewhere else, he can get one more contract somewhere else. But this gives you help, again, bridging between where you're at right now as a 3rd, 4th place team, and hopefully getting to a team that can win a wild card game and at least get to the division series, if not sneak a win into the championship series based on matchups, of course. But Trey Mancini is a guy that I would like to bring into the clubhouse, just because of the experience that he brings and the veteran leadership that he could provide. And Michael Conforto at DH, I would feel a lot better than some of the guys like Patrick Wisdom and Nick Madrigal. I think that he's a good fit with the Cubs. when he's not DHing. You could put him in left field to give Ian Happ a day off. You could put him in right field to give Seiya Suzuki a day off. And he's just a better player right now than anyone that is healthy in the farm system that is close to being able to come up to Wrigley Field. Until we start getting some legit looks at Brennan Davis and Alexander Canario in spring training, I don't know how they're going to measure up or what that timetable for their return to the roster is. I do think that Brennan Davis by June is at Wrigley. I think he's called up by then. I don't know what that corresponding move looks like. A lot is just going to depend on how he comes back from injury. Like I said, kind of a short episode today. I wanted to put a little bit more together than just talking about Dansby Swanson coming to the Cubs. I'm excited. I'm very excited. I feel as though I have someone that I can lock in as my next jersey purchase. I wanted it so bad to be Seiya Suzuki. The 5 years is great. Now it's down to 4, so maybe I should have just got it last year. I'm a big Suzuki guy, but Dansby Swanson, that's 7 years. That feels like a next jersey purchase. It just does. It just does. So we'll see if I get up to Wrigley Field this year. Maybe the Cubs will add one more bat. Some of those things that they are talking on Conforto, I've heard a lot of Cubs in the last hour. Obviously, I'm just seeing what you guys are seeing on Cubs Twitter, but that's what we've been reading lately within the last few hours is that the Cubs are one of the serious teams on Michael Conforto. Maybe we get a late night signing night. Maybe a deal gets done tomorrow. All we have to do is hope that John Heyman says that the Red Sox are close to a deal with Conforto, because then he's probably coming anywhere else, and the Cubs are one of those teams. So until then, go Cubs, baby. Go get Conforto. Go get Mancini. Let's go win a wild card game in 2023. Why not? Let's go win a wild card game. Let's do it.